Hi guys, it's SkintBoot here, and today what I'm going to be bringing you guys is a No Man's Sky video. And in today's video, what I am extremely excited to look into are 5 small details that can be added into No Man's Sky to help the general immersion of the game. I've been wanting to make a video like this for quite some time now, and after getting into the game a load more recently with base building and the main quest and things like that, I feel it's only right to bring up some fairly easy changes or additions that Hello Games could add. So without further ado, please do sit back and relax. Let's get started. Okay, so let's start simple, and by simple I mean really simple. My first 2 requests fall under the same blanket of space stations and ships. However, they are fairly easy additions that shouldn't require an entire overhaul, but rather just some rule changes and maybe a little bit of coding. First up is being able to see ships in a space station before you land. For whatever reason in No Man's Sky, every time you fly into a space station, the landing pads will always be empty. No matter where you land or what system you decide to visit, for some reason, you will always be the first in a space station. I never even noticed that this was a thing until it was pointed out on a stream by, I think it was Sword, correct me if I'm wrong, someone brought it up on a stream. And ever since noticing this, I can't help but get frustrated and mostly just confused on why this is the case. My only guess as to the reason why this doesn't exist is to prevent stations being too full so you cannot land, but I'm guessing with a little bit of tweaking and trial and error, stuff like that, this could be perfected. So in terms of actually fixing the problem, it shouldn't be a great deal of effort. Hello Games simply need to make it so some ships automatically spawn parked in a station, or say are flying out as you were to fly in. This means that you won't always be the first ship to touch down, because at the moment it sort of feels like you are a trigger for NPCs to land and that they're not organically going about their day without the need of the player. So in terms of immersion, it does make a great deal of sense. I guess this would somewhat tie into AI pathfinding or something similar, but I don't really see how this could be an issue to program. Then again, I don't make games, so I'm probably being quite naive about this. Next up is something fairly similar to this, and that's relating to sentinel ships free roaming. So in some pre-release screenshots and videos, we saw sentinel ships freely flying around space as well as landing in space stations. However, in the current build of No Man's Sky, for whatever reason, they are not present. The only time you ever see a sentinel ship is when you have a wanted level in space. But personally, this doesn't sit very well with me. I understand that this could be possibly lore based, but where did these ships actually come from? Surely their job as a police force is to patrol and not just respond to a situation, but prevent it too. Again, I'm unsure if this is a lore thing, but it does definitely bother me. Once again, this shouldn't be all too hard to implement. I mean, the model and the animations are there. It's in the game. The AI just has to be adjusted so they land in space stations and patrol random parts of space. You could maybe even allow these ships to patrol the atmosphere of planets as well. Anything to make it feel like sentinels are actually a present threat and don't just appear out of some planet's arsehole. Up next is an extremely precise feature, and one which may require a bit of effort than the previous ones to make, but it would also have a gameplay purpose, and that is being able to see flora regrow. So let me explain, because you're probably fucking squinting your eyes right now and thinking, what the hell have I smoked before recording? It was crack if you're wondering. But my reasoning for this comes from an existing part of No Man's Sky. So flora does indeed regrow after an unspecified amount of time, but flora simply reappears with no sign that it's even coming back. Not to mention, it usually doesn't grow in the same place as to where it was cut down. My solution to this is by having a small root left once a tree has been destroyed. So this gives you an idea of where it will regrow, and maybe even being able to watch watch it grow. Because think about it this way, if you were to harvest oxygen or sodium, a small root is left behind, so that's the root model covered. Plus the real-time growing could be taken from farming. There are visual stages to show physical growth, so the parts for allowing fully regrowable flora are there, just in other aspects of the game. Now you may be going, Dan, you absolute fucking crackhead, why would anyone want this? And my reply to you is, I don't know. I understand this is proper niche, but it is ultimately immersion and a gameplay benefit. In my case, some trees often regrow around my base, but never in the same place. Little bit of accidental rhyme in there. Sometimes when I run out of carbon and I need a quick source of the element to build a wall or a platform or something like that, I usually cut down the trees that have sprouted outside the gaff. But when they're all gone, it would be super handy to be able to see just how far away they are from growing back, even if it's like 3 different stages similar to farmable plants. Strange request, I know, but let me know if you agree or think I'm just a fucking drug addict. Okay, my next request can be seen as the most advanced feature on this list, as it somewhat ties into animal AI and behavior, but that is animal bathing. Oh boy, is this such an old school request that probably isn't a little detail in terms of coding, but for us it would definitely be a much smaller addition. So it isn't any secret that animal AI needs a huge overhaul, whether it be reacting to other players, other animals, hazardous plants, etc. But the one thing that I've always wanted are features that make animals feel more natural and less like they're on a set path. We did see this in Next with basic herd behavior and animals attacking and eating dead animals, but there is obviously still a way to go. And that next logical step to me would be bathing. Why do animals always stay on land? I get that they're built for land, but so are we, and we don't avoid water our whole lives. Animals need to have some sort of line of code that removes their restriction on water. I've seen countless times where animals have wandered into the water by accident and have just fucking disappeared right in front of my eyes because they aren't supposed to be there. But that's exactly why we need this change. Whether it be animals drinking from the water or animals just sitting in shallow puddles. Wait, did I say shitting or sitting? I was supposed to say sitting, I don't know actually. It would make them feel a whole lot less fake and a load more natural. Until we get a big ass old school AI system upgrade, we can instead slowly build up to it with much smaller additions, and I think this would be a fairly good starting point. And finally, we have a fairly basic addition that I think most of us can all agree on, and that is a player model in first person. Ever since I first played No Man's Sky, it always bothered me that we never had a hand or a shadow, something which, yes, was added with Next, but even with a full third person model, we still cannot see our body in first person. The biggest additions for me, as stated, are hands, but also legs. Having legs in first person games is always a big immersion upgrade for me, and I think a lot of other people as well. You can see that you're a physical being and not just a floating weapon. In terms of No Man's Sky, I'm thinking that this shouldn't be all too hard to fix, simply because we have a player model, and if they could simply transfer it over into first person, then that would save a lot of hassle. Again, naive. But for those who like the first person perspective, it would be nice to at least see a tiny bit of your hand or your legs if you were to look down. But guys, I think that is just about all I have to cover for this video. I just want to round it off by saying thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then please do feel free to leave a like on it, and if you guys could also subscribe to MZK, then that'd be absolutely fantastic. And as always, I will see you guys on my next video. This is SkintBoot, signing out.